Hey, it's Marie Forleo, and welcome to another episode of MarieTV and the Marie Forleo podcast. Today may be one of my favorite interviews of all time. I will share the guest with you in just a moment, but I will tell you it is about this book that's called The Gift, 12 Lessons to Save Your Life. This is a must-watch, must-listen, and must-share. Dr. Edith Eger is an eminent psychologist, world-renowned PTSD expert, and a survivor of the Holocaust. She's worked with countless individuals who've suffered physical and mental trauma. Her work helps us understand that our circumstances don't define our identity, and that not being a victim is a choice we must make every day. She's the author of the award-winning book, The Choice, and her latest book, The Gift, 12 Lessons to Save Your Life, is available now. Edie, it is so wonderful to be with you today. Thank you so much for the privilege of your time.
It's very mutual. I was waiting to meet you. You're quite a girl.
Thank you.
A woman of strength.
As are you, which is exactly what we're going to talk about. Let's start at the beginning. In the introduction, you shared, I learned how to live in a death camp. I'm wondering if you can take us back to 1944 when you were a 16-year-old gymnast and a dancer, and your family had some visitors on that day.
It was a total surprise when I saw the sign, Arbeit macht frei. And my father said, it's okay, we're just going to work and then we go home. And it was chaos. We didn't know what's happening. It was so hard when we were totally separated. And then I found myself at the end of the line, holding my mom on one end and my sister on other. And this guy said, is this your mother or is this your sister? And I never forgave myself when I said, it's my mother. And so he pointed my mother to go to the left. And I followed my mom. I thought we're going to be together, but he came after me. You know, I have a picture of the dress that I wore when I went to Auschwitz. I'll show it to you. It's a beautiful silk dress with a couple of bows. And I have a feeling that he knew where I'm going, and he came after me. That's really amazing that he didn't let me go with my mother. He looked me in the eye. I never forget. I pay a lot of attention to eye contact today because I can kill you with my eyes and I can love you with my eyes. So it's good to smile with your eyes always if you're communicating to anyone. So anyway, he threw me. He said, you'll see your mother very soon. She's just going to take a shower. And threw me on the other side, which meant life. But then again, we didn't know what's going to happen next. Now that is always, even today, we don't know what's going to happen next. So when I was faced with that couple who was an inmate, but they had more power, so they would elevate them to take care of the newcomers, because I was one of the last transferred from Hungary. I am part of the final solution of Eichmann. And she took my earrings and just pulled it out. And as I was bleeding, I said to her, you know, it's called displaced aggression, but he didn't know anything about it. I said, I would have given it to you. And by the way, when will I see my mother? And she pointed at the chimney. And all I saw was fire coming out of the chimney. And she very coldly informed me, your mother is burning there. you better talk about her in past tense. And my sister Magda hugged me, and she said, the spirit never dies. You know, I want to cry now, because somehow she was able to somehow find a gift in everything. And that's really, it just sums it up, the way I entered Auschwitz. And we were completely shaven. And Magda looked at me and wanted to know how she looks. She asked me. So I had a choice then, as you have a choice now, whether you pay attention to what you lost or what is still there. And I remember I became Magda's mirror, and instead of telling her how she really looked with her nakedness and the bald head, I said to her, Magda, you have beautiful eyes, and I didn't see your eyes before because you had your hair all over the place. So you see, you find a gift in everything. You find the light in the dark tunnel, and you find a way through this period of the COVID-19 that we can hopefully use this time to really look at ourselves, to become more connected, to become really much more aware what's going on with our thinking, our feeling, and your behavior. Because love is not what you feel, it's what you do.
Yes.
So we commit each other now to each other, as you call me. And at 92, I can tell you that the age doesn't matter at all. It's the way you look at it, it's the attitude that you take, and the way you think about it, how to live in the present and think young.
Yes.
But
Which
not
I want
young and foolish.
young and wise. Young and wise.
To be wise, not smart, but wise. Excellent.
Are you able to tell us about, which I know was, it's just astonishing when I heard this part of your story, that very same night that you saw the smoke, that you were also asked to dance.
Yeah. And it was this man coming to the barracks and wanted to know whether they have anybody talented among the newcomers. So there were my friends and my schoolmates, and they just picked me up and threw me in front of him. And he said, dance for me. Dance for me. And I was so scared. I was so scared because he was pointing out who to take to the gas chamber. And I felt maybe I'll be the next one. So what I did, I closed my eyes and I pretended that the music was Tchaikovsky and I was dancing the Romeo and Juliet at the Budapest Opera House. That's the first thing I did when I went back to Budapest a couple of years ago with Philip Zimbardo. I went to the Budapest Opera House and celebrated my life. We don't seem to appreciate, what we have until we lose it.
Yes.
I have a hard time throwing out a piece of bread today. If you take me out to eat, I'm going to eat up your food or take it home. I also want to feed everybody. But most people are not hungry for food. They're hungry for affection. And that's really my diagnosis with my patients. They're hungry. They want more attention. They want a lot of approval that they're not getting any. So I think it's that hunger that I'm hoping right now to be a good role model, to see how you can talk to yourself because that is going to change your body chemistry, and that is science. So when you get up in the morning, say, I love myself, I honor myself, I'm one of a kind, there'll never be another me. That is just fine to talk like that. Because if you don't like you, why should I like you?
Very true. So you wrote in this book, which, by the way, I'll share in the opening, Edie, this has now become, and I read a lot of books, one of my top favorite books of all time.
Oh, thank you.
I believe in my heart that every human should read this book. And I will tell you, I've already read it more than once, and I just have the galley copy. I want to mention something you wrote. You said, each moment in Auschwitz was hell on earth. It was also my best classroom. The foundation of freedom is in the power to choose. And I'll share one more thing. You've also written, I now recognize the most damaging prison is in our mind, and the key is in our pocket. It's possible to break free from whatever holds us back. It's not easy, but so worth it. Can you talk about this? Freedom is really the power to choose.
That's why my definition of love is the ability to let go. The ability to let go. What are you holding on to? The prison is in your own mind. The key is in your pocket. So this is good time out. Good time out for all of us. Not to say why me, but what now? I cannot ever change the past. I don't forget it. I don't overcome it. I say that 1,000,000 times, that I go through the valley of the shadow of death, but I don't camp there. I don't live in Auschwitz. I don't run from Auschwitz or fight it. I face it now as the place where everything was taken away from me, and I still had my mind, and I still had the power to change hatred into pity. And feeling sorry for the guards, because we are all born with a lot of love and a lot of joy, and look what happens. We are taught to hate. We are taught to judge. We are taught to have the us and them mentality. So the enemy is really right here in our own minds, and the key is in our pocket.
I'm going to do everything in my power, Edie, to get this book and your messages and your wisdom in the hands of as many people as I can.
Thank you. You have to come here so I can give you a big hug.
Yes, and perhaps some high kicks and swing dancing, which we'll talk about.
I can do the high kick for you.
We'll do it in a few.
I did it yesterday. I did a high kick.
I love you. I've seen videos of you doing it, and it just makes me, it just brings so much joy. So one of the things I think, again, so much powerful wisdom, you say, we choose to be victims. You can be victimized, but you're not a victim. Can you talk more about sharing the power of choosing your own identity?
I have a choice whether I'm going to react or respond to anything. So that's why I am many times thinking, especially in the English language, I tell that to the children in school, when somebody is saying you say to yourself, I'm going to be dumped on. You are stupid, you are this, you are irresponsible. And just say to yourself, the longer they talk, the more relaxed I become. And that's what Auschwitz told me. the more I was told that I'm subhuman, that I'm never going to get out of here alive because I'm cancer to society. They even took my blood, and they told me to take my blood to aid the German soldiers so we can win the war. But they could not take away from me that I did not allow them to get to me and take it personally. Because usually people talk about themselves, and all you have to do is put an I in front of it. So not to take things personally is really so important. And just become a good observer of yourself and just say, it doesn't apply to me. But don't argue with people because it's not going to be useful at all. Some people are just black and white, all or nothing, life or death thinkers, and it's no use to deny someone else's truth because it's all subjective. There is my truth and your truth. So I just say thank you. A lot of thank yous. Thank you for your opinion. Thank you for your feedback. And so when someone throws out the rope, don't pick it up. It takes two to fight. It takes one to stop it.
So much wisdom there. You know, we're in the midst of this global pandemic, Edie, and so many folks are starting to suffer even more increasingly from anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And I loved where you shared, questions never support a depressed person.
No.
From your practice and from your experience, can you share what perhaps we can consider doing or saying if someone we love, we can notice that they're in pain and maybe they're depressed?
I always tell everybody, never cheer up a depressed person. Because if I tell you that my finger hurts, and that person tells me that I just saw someone who is a paraplegic. In other words, they minimize my feelings. What you want to do is go from the understanding to the heart. And you cannot go wrong when you say two words, sounds like, you said about it, sounds like, and then throw in a feeling word, and it doesn't matter what it is. It can be out in left field. They'll correct you. Because there are not too many feelings. You see, you're either mad or glad or sad or scared or frustrated. I don't know, I can't think of too many words, but just throw in a feeling word and don't worry whether it's the right word or then they correct you. But go down to the heart, keep their feelings company, meet people where they are, but to treat them the way they could be, that they could really be feeling your being and meeting them where they are, rather than try to change them. It just really, every behavior satisfies a need. That's very important to look for the secondary gains. Very important. And some people just go from suffering to suffering, from crisis to crisis. When it's good, it's bad. They don't even know what to do and how to appreciate. When there is no problem, anything, they're looking for something because they have a pattern in their life. That's a very important word, the pattern that you develop and the messages that you carry with you. When my mother told me, I'm glad that you have brains because you have no looks, I took that very seriously. So I became a very, very, very learned. I had my own book club. I read the Interpretation of Dreams by Freud. They didn't hurt me any. I didn't speak a word of English. I came to America and I graduated cum laude. So, I studied Latin and Greek and just really don't try to blame anyone, because while you blame, you're still a child. I don't care how old you are. So when you talk to someone and they start blaming, I'm drinking because my father is a drunk. No, you have a choice. You don't have to be like your father. You can honor your parents, but you don't have to be like them.
That was a piece that I underlined in your book. When you're blaming, you're still being a child.
Don't take it from generation to generation. You can stop it.
That's
because yesterday's victims can easily become today's victimizer, because part of the psyche identifies with the aggressor. We call it the Stockholm Syndrome, how you align yourself with the perpetrators.
Yes. You also mentioned in the book, we are victims of victims.
We all are.
Yes.
If you really look at it in a big wave, I think we all are. That's why we need to really recognize that we carry the blood of our ancestors and they didn't give up. And to be able to really appreciate that, because our ancestors probably suffered more and they never gave up. So I'm very proud to tell you that I'm very proud of my ancestors, that they didn't give up, and I carry that blood and never ever give up. There is also a way to find a gift in everything.
Yes.
And Auschwitz was an opportunity for us to learn to look at life from inside out and not to wait for somebody to come. And this is really a good definition, actually, a victim who's waiting for somebody to come and give me the freedom. No, that's really, I'm just thinking about it. That's a pretty good definition of a victim. When you wait for someone to make you happy, when you wait for something to happen outside of you, there was nothing coming from the outside. It was hell. And yet they could not murder my spirit, right? I had no control over 4 o'clock in the morning when we stood there, whether I'm going to end up in a gas chamber or not. We didn't know what was going to happen next. And that's why today people are so unfortunately miserable, because none of us were prepared for this.
Right.
But what you do with it, you have a choice.
Yes. I want to talk a little bit, because you've shared that the secret to some of your vitality and your youth, as you say, you know why I'm so young today? Because I gave up a need for approval from others. Exactly. I don't have to perform, and I gave up the need to please everyone. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about releasing ourselves from perfectionism and guilt and shame.
Perfectionism also leads to procrastination. And that's what young people do. I'll think about it tomorrow. I don't know if you remember Scarlett O'Hara, Gone with the Wind.
Yes.
You know, the Yankees and everything and chaos. And then she said, I'll think about it tomorrow. It can lead to procrastination. And I think that's very, very important. My little granddaughter was a perfectionist, and I was invited to her school, and the teacher called her my little red caboose. You know what it is, the train?
Yep. The end of the chain.
And she was a perfectionist. She erased, erased things a million times. And she thought that she doesn't belong to that class, which was a class designed for students who had a very high IQ, like 145 or 148. And she thought that she doesn't belong there because she just doesn't know how to cut the mustard. And this is the first time I talked to her about Auschwitz. And I also told her the teacher has no right to put labels on her. And I begged her not to get out of that class. But when she went to a wonderful bishop school, and when it was time to write a letter to colleges, and you have to write your autobiography, right? So the title of her autobiography was When the Caboose Became an Engine. Isn't it something?
It's gorgeous.
Yes.
It's gorgeous.
That when the darkness, when the tragedy becomes the me that can think young and live every moment and not to waste time to be against anything, but to be for love and for uniting. And this is what keeps me young.
Yes. I wondered if you could tell the story that you shared in the book about the 14-year-old who came, who was court-appointed therapy session, and he was ranting about how we need to make America white again. Can you share that story?
Yes. You know, he was referred by the judge to me, and I didn't know what's going on, but he informed me that he's a boot boy. And I don't know boots at all. So I did acknowledge that he's a boot boy. But then he got up, and I still can picture him taking his elbow, putting it on my desk, and he said, "Hey, Doc, it's time for America to be white again, and I'm going to kill all the Jews." So I'm going to now tell you the differentiation between reacting or responding. When I heard that, I wanted to pick up that kid. I wanted to drag him to the corner. I wanted to step on him and tell him, "Who do you think you're talking to? I saw my mother going to the gas chamber." But in Auschwitz, I discovered God. And God helped me to turn hatred into pity. And then I also learned that people don't come to me, they're sent to me. So I started to talk to God. What's the meaning of this? And God said, "Find the bigot in you." And I said, "That's impossible, God, because I came to America penniless. I worked in a factory in 1949, and when I went to the bathroom, one of them said colored. And after Nazi Germany and communist Russia, I found out and discovered that there is no democracy, there is racism and prejudice in America." So I joined the NAACP. I marched with Martin Luther King, and I'm telling God that I don't have a bigot in me because of this and this and that. And God said to me, "Find the bigot in you." And I took a deep breath, and that's what I tell people now. And I said to myself, it's up to me to create an environment where somebody can feel any feelings without the fear of being judged. And I totally changed my position. I opened myself up. You know, I can kill you with my eyes or love you with my eyes. And I opened up my eyes and I asked him, please tell me more, because love is time. T-I-M-E, time. And he never knew a thing about my past, nothing at all. But I'm kind of old-fashioned, and I didn't think that I can make a boy into a man. So I did the motherly thing, and then I invited a colleague with gray hair to take him for a walk and talk to him about boyhood and manhood, which is a wonderful book also by Tolstoy. Boyhood, manhood, and something, I forgot, Tolstoy. If you really want to learn good psychology, read Tolstoy and Chekhov and Tennessee Williams, the stuff of which life is made of.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for that moment of courage and faith and to
Faith is so different than belief. And that's what the faith, I think, then the curiosity that helped me to survive, because I always wanted to know what's going to happen next. And this is what I told this girl right now I saw. I said, put on your curious hat when you go to college and just be curious and see what you can learn from anybody, especially the people who you really don't want to get to know, because there is a Hitler in every one of us, and kindness and goodness as well. So which one you're going to practice is up to you. There is no forgiveness without rage. And I had a big problem with anger after I survived. So I went to a therapist. I asked him to sit on me and not to allow me to get up. Yeah, until it's very hard. Some people are chronically angry. You know those people that...
And what do you think in terms of, in your book, you say, the opposite of depression is expression.
Expression. My daughter calls it Edith-isms.
They're beautiful.
See, what comes out of your body doesn't make you ill.
Yes.
You're going to get that vomit out. If not, it stays in you and poisons your body.
Yes.
See, when you're angry at me, I don't suffer, you do. So you have to spell selfish, self-ish. You take care of the self, the one of a kind, and you are a good parent to you. Yes. Is it good for me? Is this going to empower me? That you really talk to yourself lovingly, even if your mother didn't. You don't have to blame your mother. Now you become a good mommy to you. Are you a good mommy to you?
I'm becoming a better mommy to me.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think
children don't do what we say, they do what they see. So
yes.
You're a good role model.
Yes. So, we're living in such times of uncertainty, as we mentioned before, coronavirus, so much change. You write in the book, we never know what's ahead. Hope isn't the white paint we use to mask our suffering. It's an investment in curiosity. Mm-hmm. I love that you also shared choosing hope affects what gets my attention every day. Yes. Let's talk about resilience and freedom and hope. I love that you emphasize not to minimize our pain or deny it, to just say it hurts and it's temporary. It hurts.
Yes, and don't deny it either. Those are the defense mechanisms. We denied it or minimized it. It wasn't such a big thing. Well, we don't compare who suffered more. So when a woman comes to me and tells me she was sexually abused, but she doesn't want to tell me because I was in Auschwitz, and my answer to her is, you were more in Auschwitz than I was because I knew the enemy.
Mm.
You see?
Yes.
It's just how you look at things. We don't compare who suffers more, but whatever happened, you made it thus far. So the question is not why me, but what now? Because there's one thing you cannot change is the past. But I don't run from it, as I did for 20 years or so. I kept it inside. I had my secret because I felt like a weirdo coming to America. I didn't even know how to spell Auschwitz, much less telling everybody, because I just wanted to be a Yankee doodle dandy. I wanted to be like you. So that's why I didn't tell my children anything about it. I wouldn't do that today, but I didn't have the verbal capacity, and I didn't want you to feel sorry for me. So I went underground. I don't think it's a good idea because I had a lot of problems with digestions. I had a migraine headache. The body never lies. The body talks to you. It's better to listen to your body. Yes.
Could not agree more. I wanted to ask you, Edie, if I may, I just want to read a passage from the end of the book. Is that okay?
Sure, honey, anything.
Sometimes we think that if we move on from loss or trauma, if we have fun and enjoy ourselves, if we continue to grow and evolve, that we're somehow dishonoring the dead or dishonoring the past.
Yeah.
But it's okay to laugh. It's okay to have joy.
Yes.
Even in Auschwitz, we were celebrating in our minds all the time, cooking feasts, arguing how much caraway you can put in the best rye bread,
Yes.
how much paprika.
Yes.
We even held a boob contest one night, and guess who won?
Yes.
I can't say that everything happens for a reason, that there's a purpose in injustice or suffering, but I can say that pain, hardship, and suffering are the gift that helps us grow and learn and become who we are meant to be.
And
honey,
become stronger.
May you also choose to give up the prison and do the work to be free, to find in your suffering your own life lessons, to choose which legacy the world inherits, to hand down the pain or to pass on the gift.
Thank you. Thank you. Makes me cry, you know. A while ago, I was invited to a group and people who get together once a month and celebrate a child that died. So they come in and they have the picture of the child who died, and they talk how they lost their son. And I asked this one woman, and how old was the son that you lost? And she said 29 years old. And I told them, you know, I don't think life is about lost and found. You have a choice. You have a choice to celebrate that this spirit was sent to you for 29 years. And then he went home. It's not lost. It's celebration of what you did have, and not to deny that. So then I said, is it possible that you may be invited to a wedding and your husband would like to dance with you and you refuse because you think you're letting down the son? So I introduced them to the word called permission. That to give yourself permission for pleasure, because your son would like you to have a good life.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
It's easier to die than to live. So going to the cemetery every day and even neglecting the other children who are here, I think nothing is good if it's excessively, if it's overdone. And I think suffering gives you strength to even appreciate more every moment and celebrate every moment of life and live in the present.
Yes.
So that's how I was really with this. They were about 35 women, and asked them that if they go to a wedding and the husband asks them to dance, to be sure that you're really celebrating the spirit of that life that never dies, that spirit of that son, that the spirit is there where we're born and the spirit is there when we die. The spirit never dies. And that's what my sister told me when I was told that my mother is burning in a gas chamber. She hugged me and she said, the spirit never dies. And that is the spirit I bring you today, to be for something, for life and for celebration, and have joy and passion and purpose in your life. A lot of peace.
A lot of good peace. You are such an incredible gift, and this has been such an honor to get to spend time with you. And congratulations on this book. I know it's your second. For everyone who watches our show, sometimes they will say, oh, I'm in my 20s and I feel like I'm too old to do anything. And I was like, you know what? This powerful woman wrote her first book at 90 and now the second at 92.
And there is a third one that's going to be a recipe with my daughter.
Oh, this sounds so exciting. I'm going to do a high kick in your honor.
Okay.
I'm kicking.
There you go.
Yes.
Let me give you one. Let me give you an... Okay.
You okay? All right. All right.
Yes.
All right.
I cannot wait for when this pandemic, when we move through to a new stage, when
we're going through it.
We don't
get stuck in it. Yeah.
That's right. When we move through to a new phase and I get to come to the West Coast at some point and give you the biggest hug.
Please.
Yes. I hope for everyone to get this incredible book. Thank you for the honor of who you are and for all of the wisdom that you shared and the strength that you are giving us. Thank you so much.
I thank you. What a beautiful interviewer you are.
Thank you.
So I love you.
I love you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Edie. Oh my goodness. Probably one of my favorite interviews and my favorite guests of all time. She is just a miracle. And now, Edie and I would love to hear from you. What was your biggest insight or aha or takeaway from today's conversation? As always, the best conversations happen at MarieForleo.com. So head on over there and leave a comment now. And once you're there, if you're not already, please become an MF Insider. You're going to get instant access to an audio I created called How to Get Anything You Want, plus some really loving and supportive emails each and every week. Until next time, stay on your game and keep going for your dreams, because the world really does need that very special gift that only you have. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.